She didn't know anyone was there, not when she fell to her knees behind the empty café, not when she whispered, "I can't do this anymore," not when she burst into tears holding a crumpled eviction notice. But someone was watching, someone who had the power to change everything. And when he finally stepped forward, her life shattered and rebuilt in the same breath. If he hadn't stopped for coffee that morning, he never would have seen what she tried so hard to hide. Maya had spent the morning pretending everything was normal. She smiled at customers, wiped tables twice, and kept humming the same broken tune she always hummed when she was close to falling apart. The cafe wasn't much: 6 tables, a flickering neon sign, and a coffee machine. Older than she was, but it was the only place she still felt useful. But behind that smile, her world had collapsed just 4 hours ago when she found the red eviction notice stuck to her door like a warning she couldn't outrun. She had 30 days. 30 days before she and her little brother Liam would be homeless. Again. By noon, her throat burned from holding back tears. By 1, she asked her manager if she could take out the trash just so she could breathe. And that was how she ended up behind the cafe, leaning against the cold brick wall, clutching the eviction notice in her shaking hands. "I just need one break," she whispered to no one. Then her voice cracked. Just one. She didn't know that her whisper, soft as it was, carried to someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Ethan Hale, CEO, investor, and the kind of man strangers whispered about, was standing beside his black SUV finishing a phone call. He came to this small cafe because it was one of the last places where people didn't fawn over him, where he could sit like a normal man, not a billionaire with 100 eyes on him. But today he froze mid-step. He saw her shoulders trembling, saw the paper crumpling under her fingers, saw the kind of pain he recognized too. Well, the kind you only showed when you believed the world wasn't watching. He didn't speak, didn't move, he just watched, and something inside him cracked. Maya slid down the wall, burying her face in her hands. "I'm doing everything I can, Liam. I promise, I'm trying." Her voice was barely a breath. Ethan felt something he hadn't let himself feel in years: helplessness. The urge to fix something immediately. The ache of seeing someone break the same way he had broken after his parents died when he was 17. But he didn't step forward. Not yet. He knew pain had borders, and he didn't want to cross hers. Later that day, Maya returned inside, wiped her eyes, and continued working as if nothing had happened. She didn't see the man who kept glancing at her table, didn't feel the gaze that carried questions, concern, and something else he couldn't name. When her shift ended, it was raining. Of course it was raining. Her jacket was thin, her shoes soaked instantly, and the eviction notice, tucked inside her bag, felt like it gained weight with every step. Ethan watched her leave through the steamed-up cafe window. He hesitated. Then he whispered to himself, "Don't get involved, Ethan. You know how this goes." But something deep inside argued back. "You saw her. You can't unsee it now." That night, neither of them slept. Maya lay awake wondering how she would protect her brother. Ethan stared at his ceiling, unable to stop seeing her tears. They were strangers. But fate had already started scripting something neither of them could escape. He wasn't supposed to know her secrets. But once he did, he couldn't walk away. Ethan returned to the cafe the next morning, unsure what he was hoping for, but when he saw Maya rushing between tables, hair tied back, smile forced and fragile, he felt the same pull as yesterday. She did everything with a quiet determination, balancing plates, apologizing to rude customers, staying patient even when she looked ready to collapse. There was a strength in her softness, a fight in her exhaustion. When the crowd thinned, he finally approached the counter. "One medium latte?" she asked, her smile automatic. "Actually," Ethan hesitated, "I was wondering if you're okay." Her smile froze. Her fingers tightened around the counter. She wasn't used to anyone noticing, not her absent mother, not the landlord who kept raising rent, not the world that walked past her every day. "I'm fine," she said quickly, too quickly, and she turned away. Ethan understood walls. He had built skyscrapers out of his own. Later, when she took another trash bag outside, Ethan followed, not close, but close enough. What he saw made his chest tighten. She pulled 3 crumpled bills from her apron pocket and counted them with trembling hands. $12 short, she breathed. "I just need $12. She sank to her knees on the pavement, forehead touching the bag of trash she'd been dragging, as if the weight of the world had finally pinned her down. Ethan stepped forward before he could stop himself. "Maya?" he said softly. She jerked up, startled, eyes wide with embarrassment. You followed me?" "You looked like you needed help." "I don't," she snapped, and instantly her eyes filled with tears. I can't. I'm tired of being pitied. He took a slow breath and knelt in front of her, not as a CEO, not as a millionaire, but as a human being who understood pain. I'm not here to pity you, he said. I'm here because I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. And once I did, I couldn't pretend I didn't. Maya wiped her cheeks, but the tears kept falling. I'm losing my home, she whispered. My brother, he's only 8. I can't let him go through what we went through before. I'm working double shifts, skipping meals, selling things, and it's still not enough. The words tumbled out of her as if she'd held them inside for years. Ethan's jaw tightened. 8 years old, he had been the same age when he learned what it meant to be abandoned. Maya, he said gently, let me help. She shook her head violently. You don't even know me. He smiled sadly. I know what people look like when they're carrying the world alone. She froze, because in that moment, she saw something in his eyes, a loneliness that mirrored her own. A truth she hadn't expected. He wasn't just a stranger. He was someone who had lived the same kind of pain. But she still whispered, why? Why would you help me? Ethan inhaled deeply. Then he told her the truth. Because you remind me of someone I lost. Someone who never got the help she needed because no one stepped forward. I will not make that mistake again. Maya's lips parted in shock. And slowly, painfully, something inside her walls cracked. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She simply whispered, what do I do now? Ethan stood and offered his hand. Let me show you. She looked at his hand, at the man who saw her when she thought she was invisible, at the stranger who knew too much yet felt safer than anyone she'd met in years. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. Ending message for YouTube video. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones who see us when we think we're invisible. And sometimes help doesn't arrive because we are weak, but because we finally meet someone strong enough to stand beside us.